Let's go.
Hey, welcome back. Last week we pulled the motor out of this Fiat. This week we're going to put one back in it. So first thing we're going to do is pull the engine and trans apart. And then we got another engine, by the way, that I know nothing about other than it's supposed to run, that I've had for over a year. So we'll put it together and see how it goes. First thing we're going to do is I've already pulled the little cover down here. Let's see if I can get to it. There it is. We're going to pull the torque converter bolts out, and we're going to pull the bell housing bolts off this thing and separate this stuff right quick. The cover for that had been chewed on by the flywheel. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. That's a little rubber cover. The new engine has one, so I ain't worried about it. But we'll get all this separated, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got her separated. There's 6 torque converter bolts and like 6 actual bell housing bolts, and then I just left all that together. We just lost a little bit of antifreeze again, no big deal. So next thing we're going to do is try to figure out how to switch these around without getting hurt, and I have to put that flywheel on the newer engine, or the other engine, and then we can start bolting it back together. I do have to remove all the accessory drive stuff and put on this other engine along with the wiring harness, because they cut the one on the junkyard engine, which is fine. I expect that sort of thing. Hey, good morning. It's the next day. Yesterday we switched the motor over, took the old one off the transmission and put the new motor on the transmission. I pulled the plugs out of it. They look terrible. But this thing has been sitting for a while, and I think it may have gotten some moisture in the cylinders. Nothing crazy though. I did pour some oil in all the cylinders and rotated it a little bit. I'm going to suck that out and before I put plugs back in it, but it should be fine. So the other thing I'm going to do is change all the accessories over onto this motor, and yeah, we'll just keep going here. Let me kind of get you in and I'll show you a little bit more about it. So I was going to film switching these over, but I'm really limited on space, and I couldn't figure out how to do it and not knock you all over 500 times. So I just didn't. But it wasn't exactly easy, but it wasn't hard. So anyways, I've got the AC and alternator switch over. I'm also going to switch over the tensioner, because I know that tensioner is good. This one looks less good, so to speak. And there's some sensors behind the starter. I'm going to go ahead and switch those out while we can get to them really easy. We know the ones off that motor were good. And throw the starter on this thing. I'm going to go ahead and do all that off camera, because there's really nothing to see here. And then we're going to try to slide it in and wire it up just enough with fuel lines and stuff to fire this motor up and make sure it runs okay before we assemble this whole deal, just in case we have to tear both these motors down and try to make one good motor out of it. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep you kind of posted if anything important happens. All right, we got this motor's, the old one's pretty much stripped. There's a few more things that need to go on this one, but we're going to stick it in and get the exhaust and stuff hooked up and battery on it and see if we can fire it up. So she's all dressed up and ready for the big dance. There you have it. She's back in. I've got one more torque mount in the back to put on. See all that? I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There's a bunch of oil on it. I actually dropped some oil in the cylinders earlier since it's been sitting so long. And yeah, I'll hook that up, and I'm going to hook up a few more things. Real soon, we'll be able to hear if this thing actually works or not. Well, it's coming along really well. I've got the battery box. I got all that hooked back up. I have the heater hoses in the back hooked up. The cooling pipe on the front, see this? It's actually got a hole in it. This engine's actually from the Great White North, and I had it shipped down here. It was just cheap. So it was a LKQ engine, so they ship it for free, so whatever. I got all the tape off the cylinder head. So the next thing I'm going to do is change those cooling pipes. I already pulled the ones off the other engines, no big deal. I'll get that done, put back together, and then I've got to remove that bolt that I broke off. By the way, the only bolt I broke in all of this really that was important was that one. And there's two on the heat shield that I broke, but I don't care about those. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to do that right quick, and we'll get back to it and see if we can't get this thing to the point we can start it and see if it'll run. And yeah, I have no idea. It's over a year old that I've had it, so it's mine either way. Well, you saw I had to get the heat after that. The seal in there was just stuck. I thought that's just part of being two different kinds of metals. They don't act well together. So I'm going to clean that up, clean a couple little surfaces up right here, and we'll get this thing put back together. And do a few other things. Hopefully we'll be able to fire this thing up in the next, hour or so. All right, we got her all back together. You saw me put that other clamp on. I didn't like it was too long, so I fixed it. And I used the heat shielding that came on this car on this because the other one was kind of messed up. So the other thing I was looking at, look how small. Look at my finger. Look how small those exhaust ports are. Holy moly. This thing is a tiny engine. I think it's a 1.4 liter. Anyways, I'm sure all this will leak and we'll have to tear the whole car back apart and fix it, but it's in for now. I'm going to work on getting this bolt out of the exhaust, and then we can hang that. And we're getting very close to being able to fire this thing up. We're going to try to drill it out first. I was going to cut it out. I got a little Dremel. There's a lip in here, so it's hard to get a full-size grinder on it, but we'll see what happens. This may or may not work. We're going to give it a shot. Okay, so I got that drilled out. I think it'll do. We'll see how it goes, but I believe it'll be fine. There's quite a bit of play, I think, in the coupler that goes on that. So I'll find us a bolt to go through there. We'll put some of the studs back in the head, and we'll see if we can hang this. All right, so I think I've got everything hooked up. I got the exhaust all hooked up, and it's done. I've got oil in it. See this towel up here? I actually put oil in the cylinders when I first got it. So I hooked the battery up. I'm going to turn it over and see how much of that oil we can shoot out before putting a set of plugs in there just to ruin them. I'm going to ruin a set of plugs probably no matter what, but let's see how much oil we can just pump out of there. And I thought I'd put a paper towel in there just to maybe soak some of it up. I don't know that I'm doing the right thing, but that's the thing I'm doing. So I'm going to put you on a stand. We'll see if it'll even turn over. Well, you know, I may have missed stuff. Who knows? All right, here we go. Let's see what she does. And got a little bit of oil and trash out. I'm going to do it again. Might do it 2 or 3 times. Ain't bad. Well, I'm sure you could see the oil was coming out. There's some trash on it, but I think it's fine. It just had some buildup on the of rust on the walls for the, I don't know, spark plug tubes, I guess is what you call them. I'm going to throw a set of plugs in it and the coil packs. We'll see if she'll fire off. Either it will or it won't. Let's see if she'll start. There's no coolant, so if it runs, we're going to cut it off pretty quick. It's going to smoke terribly bad. She's a runner. Look here. Look at that smoke. I knew they'd smoke like crazy because I had all that oil in there. It'll burn that off, I think, here in a few minutes. See what she sounds like. Oh, she's so much smoother than that other engine. Well, I'm going to cut this off and air out this place, and we'll see if we can get the rest of this put together, the car outside, and we'll let it run for a while. Yeah, it's smoky. See the smoke rolling out of the house. I'm sure you'll be able to get that on camera, but yeah, we'll clear her out and keep going. Well, we're getting there. I've got all that on. The radiator's all hooked up. I got the overflow in. It's hooked up. I ended up actually having to take the battery tray back out to put the upper radiator hose in. No big deal. I have the latch hooked up. I have the splash pan hooked up. underneath. I've got the axles and everything back in. Whoops, sorry. On both sides. I do have to tighten the axle nut down on both sides, but I'm going to set the car down. You can actually get to it once the car's down. I'm going to set it down and then tighten them up, torque them down. So we're looking at headlights, front bumper, air intake, and a hood. I think that's about it. So, but I'm calling it a night. This has been a long day, but you know, I've got like 4 days in this thing now, and it's been 4 kind of easy days where I've just kind of done whatever. So yeah, we'll get back to it tomorrow. Well, it's the next morning. I'm going to look over this thing. I think I'm going to polish the headlights before I put them back in, just so we don't have to do it later. They were in poor condition, so I've shown that before. I may show it again. But yeah, we're going to polish the headlights, put them in. This thing's getting ready to be buttoned back up. We're almost done. Then we'll back it outside, see if the smoke ever clears up. I think it will. We'll see. So as you can see, these are dirty, but the top side of them's really where most of the fading is. The bottoms aren't great either. So I'm just going to hit it with 1,000 and then a 1,500 and polish it and see how it looks. And yeah, I think it'll be fine. Hopefully our small polisher will do this and I won't have to get the big one out. Well, there you have it, just a few minutes, and we got pretty good looking headlights again. I'm gonna go ahead and toss these in and we'll be about ready to put the bumper back on. All right, we got the front bumper back on. I think I am gonna go in and polish the turn signals. They don't look nearly as good as the headlights now. They were better than the headlights, but here we are. Got all the wheel stuff locked down. We're good there on both sides. I think I'm gonna hook the battery up, see if we can get the hood on it. Roll it outside to start it this time, and hopefully the fire department don't get called on all the smoke. We got her outside. I'm gonna put y'all on a tripod. We're gonna start it up. I'm gonna put some antifreeze in it and let it heat up and see how it does. Hopefully, bless you. Hopefully it'll clear out and it'll be okay. Let her idle for a little while. I'll bring y'all back in once we get it warmed up. I think we're clearing up as it is, so I think it's gonna be okay. She's clearing out pretty nicely. I'm gonna throw y'all on a stand, and we're gonna go for a ride around the neighborhood, see how it does. But I think we're gonna be all right. Just got to get her warm, burn off the oil that I had down on those cylinders. So here we go. I took her around the block. She's still smoking just a little. And I'm pretty sure that's just where it's burning off the rest of the oil that's inside the exhaust. But she ran great, as y'all saw. No big deal. Pulled up that hill, no problem. So I'm happy with it. I think it's gonna be just fine. We'll just have to run her a little bit and let her be. I went out at lunch and picked up some antifreeze and topped it off. Came back. She's actually been running here for about 5 minutes. Put a little seafoam in the tank. I'm sure this gas is probably 2 years old. She's smoking just a little bit, but I'm gonna take her down the road, get her good and hot. When I first started it, it wasn't smoking at all. So I believe it's just what's left in the exhaust has to get hot before it starts smoking. So I'm gonna take it around the block, bring it back, let it cool down, do it again. I'll do it a few times and I'll let y'all know how it goes. Well, I drove her for about 20 minutes. Seems to be doing great. No smoke at all. It didn't overheat. Sounds good. I'm gonna clear the codes just to make sure nothing comes back, but yeah, I feel good about it. So I cleared all the check engine codes. Tire pressure's still low. So it does need a little bit of pressure in all the tires. They're low, but they ain't terrible. Anyways, I'm gonna go for another little 20-minute drive or so, just to make sure we don't get any more codes. If we don't, we'll call it done. Check engine light stayed off the entire time. Car runs great. No smoke whatsoever. I believe we fixed this old girl. Well, thanks for watching. I'm glad it's running and this is off my plate. And yeah, I'm calling her done. So yeah, catch you next week. Who knows what we'll be doing then.